audience for gardening. Like tonight, we are shooting in the gardening area. Now, if you want this kind of gardening equipment, look no further. Come to Danube Home, Kampala Road, opposite Shell OKCB. Now, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, the man in the chair. I tell you, every time I have certain people on the desk, it increases the level of intellectuality and solution finding on the desk. Now, this man, ladies and gentlemen, he is a very professional and he's seen it all. He's been on the plane, he's been on the bus, he's even been on foot. This man is not just experienced in Uganda or confined in the borders. This man is a professional when it comes to regional entrepreneurship, regional investment, not just Uganda. He's been in the DR Congo on foot. He's been there hands-on. Not these things where economists come and tell us the economy is growing by 22% and it's just figures. This man has been on the ground. He knows what it takes. He's been in DRC. He's been in Rwanda. He's actually been in Sudan. He told me that the two fightings found him in Sudan and he was gun robbed. So he knows all the violence and everything in Burundi, in Tanzania, and even in Kenya. Now, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax. Better yet, lean forward or stand up. Because on the show tonight, it is Mr. Jalum John. He's actually called on Facebook JJ Jalum. What does JJ stand for?
JJ stands for Jalum John. The first letters of Jalum and John.
JJ.
So it's JJ. Actually, in my early years in primary, I was used to that. Almost everyone called me JJ. JJ.
Most of JJ Odong.
Yeah. I actually have the Odong name, but I don't use it.
No way.
I have the
Is it a coincidence?
It's a family name. Odong. If you go to my family, there is a family name. My uncles, my dad, and all of one around me. It's me only strictly uses Jalum John, so I don't use the Odong.
Yes. Can you imagine? So you're another JJ Odong.
Yeah, I'm another JJ.
Will you join politics?
Yeah, you don't put that out because you know where we are.
Yes.
Politics is a matter that everyone has to get well acquainted with.
That's true. That's so true.
Yes, in business, you cannot do much if you don't know what is happening
in politics. But actually, politics and business are in bed together.
Yes, they're in bed together, and that's why in business, in most cases, you have to look at the two angles: socio-economic development and socio-political development. Now, all these things play out when you're investing.
Right.
Now you look into these matters more closely in every area that you want to develop, and it helps to give you a very pure, a straight up futuristic way and manner of development. Now this cuts across in the entire region, or even Africa, or even the world. Oh. Yes.
Actually, before you even get into you're helping to enlighten these people about regional entrepreneurship, you know, it sounds bulky, but then when someone looks at you, they think you played rugby, and you told me you never played rugby because it's rough. Really?
No, yes. Surprisingly, I played basketball more. And I think because of the body structure, many rugby guys actually wanted me to play rugby, and I realized it wasn't really my thing because it was so rough. And at that time, I was a bit of a rough boy. So rough wouldn't really match.
Too much friction.
It would mess you up.
Okay.
So I decided to not go in that area. Yes.
Right. John, let's just get into this. You know, a lot of people, you're not even 40 years old, but you're crossing Tanzania, South Sudan. By the way, first tell me about the experience. You were robbed, gunpoint. In Sudan, not once, not twice, and you're still in business across borders.
Yes.
What gives you the motivation?
Now, you see, when you launch out in business, you need to understand the risks. And what plays out in business, let me first go back. You know, the guys who actually, the majority of the businessmen or the people who run the economy are not educated.
Yeah, that's true, informal.
So what plays for them? A default setting of faith. They simply launch out. Now, if you have watched interviews of Aliko Dangote, the richest African for quite some good time, 9 years running, you'll realize that he talks of businesses for people who can risk. You get my point? You don't back down because you were robbed. You don't back down because you lost.
Right.
You keep your head up there.
Right.
Now, the profiles of every men in business and women in business who have made it, there was always that part that seem to have taken them down. Maybe they were robbed. Maybe it was, no matter what it is, but created a lot of loss. The loss of life.
But Jalum, it's not exactly my point.
Yes.
Not just about loss of the money, because they could have found you probably with maybe £1,000 and you have a lot more in the bank.
Yes.
But the threat, of what impact was that to your life? Wouldn't you say, no, enough is enough, let me go back to Uganda, what am I looking for?
Of course, a time came when I had to relocate back to Uganda, especially from South Sudan. But you need to understand that, like I said, when you're going to invest, you look at two things: socio-economic developments and socio-political development. Now, most of these things here spring from the issues we have
with the socio-political. That's true.
You get my point? So it begins to give you a certain view of exactly what to do when you're when you're doing business and you're caught up in such a place or in such a country that has issues to do with the socio-political development and all that.
Yes.
Now, that comes back to some of the biggest challenges that I believe we shall talk, especially for the region of East Africa
Yes.
and Central Africa,
Yes.
or Africa in general. Because it would have been far, but some of these things played so much to press down on the
economic
kind of
activity.
the economic activities. You get my point?
Yes.
Now, some of these countries would be very far, but
If
because
not
of
for such
it's,
thing.
yeah. Now, what happened is that if, for example, a white man is coming to do business in such a place and he's successful, why not me? Those places that you actually see there's a lot of war going on present much more opportunity.
Because everyone is running away.
Yes, it presents much more opportunity. Because let me give you an incidence of Juba.
Juba, yes.
Juba is not that safe.
Till death.
Yes, Juba is not that safe, because when you round around Juba must be sitting on around 8 to 10 square kilometers. But Juba is not that safe. Now, you can still do business in Juba and you're successful. Now, you just imagine someone who is doing business in Rumbek, doing business in Upper Nile, some of those wild places of South Sudan. You can imagine what kind of profit they're going to make. That's what I was saying.
Actually, people are watching, and what kind of business, because I'm going in a short break in a few minutes, but what kind of business? For instance, there's a youth down there who's looking at you, and they're saying, you know what, most of them are complaining about Uganda, but for you who has traded in all the economies, what kind of business, for instance, if they have some little money, what exactly should they invest in? What should they take over, or what should they bring in? Let's start with that.
That one is actually very, very key, because one of the things that will move faster are the consumer goods.
Okay.
Consumer products.
Okay.
So one who is engaged in consumer products can easily make more money than one who is not. You get my point?
Yes.
Someone who is going to go to a place that is inflicted by war and is taking their food is more than someone who is just going to take clothes, because people don't need clothes there. People need to eat.
You're solving a problem.
You're solving a problem.
Okay.
You get my point? So what plays out more is what is at the forefront. Things like food, the basic household needs of today and that. So once they don't have it, you get my point, and you see you're the one to go and solve that, you stand a high chance.
Okay. Of making money. So I want you to look at that camera before I go into the break and tell the youth, like, list for them some things. Like, you have money, do A, B, C, D. Take, for instance, maybe what for you, like in your knowledge about these things. Maybe, for instance, South Sudan, this is consumed. In Congo, this is just for them to get a hint, probably.
Now, if you look at the record of South Sudan, Uganda has, if you look at how nations have invested in South Sudan, Kenya has taken on more of the NGOs. When you go to the hotel and all that, it's mainly Eritreans and Ethiopians. Hospitality. And when you look at into telecom, you look more of Sudan. But Uganda particularly plays the role of food. So for any youth, especially in Uganda, wants to go, for example, go and invest in South Sudan, put your mind to food. Food.
Wow.
You get my point?
And we never pay attention to these things.
Many people don't pay attention to that, but food moves faster than anything in South Sudan. You get my point? Yes. The only thing you need to now sit back and calculate your moves. That okay, what does it take for me to take food up to South Sudan? The same to DRC Congo. There is the part of food production is a little bit much lacking. Now, also in Congo, there are less industries, less factories. There are actually no factories, including South Sudan. But the key things is that you look into more of the consumer products, and you think through one that you're comfortable with, and you say, you know what, I'm going to take this too.
All right. On that point, I'm going to go for a short break. Yes. Then when we come back, we shall dive a little bit more into what government should do to help youth actually take now the food products that you've advised us on.
Yes.
All right. Now, do not go away. I tell you, like I told you, you have to sit back, relax. Better yet, lean forward. Don't even stand up and face your screen, because tonight we are being educated in terms of regional entrepreneurship and regional investment. Now, I tell you, you can start. This is a new year. Anything is possible. Now, for you, a youth who is there, do not go away. We're still at Danube Home and we are live.
Thank you.
Actually, before I even ask you about the government, you're yet to be married. How is the experience?
My friend, when you're entering that institution, you must be prepared. The scope of preparedness is also key. So you know exactly what to do, know what to not to do, and you know exactly what you're entering into.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm very ready.
You're ready to be a husband?
Because to me, it is more than just the one day.
Yes, more, yes.
To me, it is dominion.
Dominion as a man?
You see, once you're given dominion, one of the key factors is a mate.
A partner. Okay.
That you're going to get. That you're going to who is going to help you put in line and on point concerning that particular area of dominion. Now, dominion plays more importantly when you have a suitable mate, a wife or a husband. Then you know exactly what you're doing. So it is more than just the wedding is going to be like this. It's going to be glamorous. It's going to be like this. I spend this amount of money.
Okay.
For me, don't tell me about don't tell me how your wedding was glorious when you're divorced.
When you're divorced, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's like producing a child and you kill them yourself.
Yes. So to me, it is way ahead. The things that I see ahead, the things that I'm launching into it's more than marriage itself. So I know exactly what I'm doing, and I know exactly what marriage as marriage.
So you're advising the youth that are watching us, it's not just about the day.
It's not just about the day. It's not just about I'm married here. Marriage is a dominion.
Okay.
For you to play out rightly, you have to be I believe marriage is key in this thing.
Okay, let's get to government.
Yes.
Like you've given us, for instance, a few tips on the food stuffs. We can, export this. And how can government help us?
Now, you see, I've met a number of youths,
Yes.
even personal friends. When I left campus, I interacted with friends in Tanzania that I did projects with in areas of Dodoma, sunflower projects.
Sunflower, so food.
Yes, sunflower and even poultry.
Poultry.
And also...
Is that possible?
Yes.
Chalim, is that possible? Can you take birds past the border?
Yes, actually, see, many of the Tanzanians who are into poultry get most of the chicks are not from here. I still don't understand the incubators. I don't know if here guys are more engaged into that than Tanzania, but they get them from here and Kenya. But also you have to know that when it comes to poultry, Uganda plays big in the region.
Wow.
So we export a lot of chicken to Tanzania and Kenya. That's why there was a time you had a row about poor chicken being exported to Kenya, and you had that kind of thing going on between the two countries, the two economies.
Right.
Now, one thing that I've engaged with the youths, and I looked at a time when these youths were taking on agriculture, was the time when a youth would easily bypass agriculture.
Yes, like it wasn't priority.
It wasn't priority, man. You're doing agriculture, guys look at you and like, man,
Like
have you
you're
lost the plot?
outdated. Yes.
You know, you're outdated. But that is where the money is.
That's true, right?
So I encouraged a group of them who are doing actually large-scale farming in different, depending on the season.
But you know, this is a new one. The poultry is a new one.
Yes.
No one has advised people on the desk to actually do poultry and actually be able to export
There
it.
is a lot. Actually, see, if you look at DRC, most of the poultry products come in from here.
Okay.
So if you engage in exporting, for example, eggs to DRC,
Okay.
you make a lot of money, including Tanzania itself. Tanzania consumes a lot of eggs, just like Uganda. Here we have it in Rolex, there they have it in chips mayai.
Okay. Here it's in Rolex, then they have chips. So what is chips mayai?
Chips mayai, you get chips, then they mix it with eggs, so it comes out round. But it's the most consumed fast food in Tanzania, just like we have Rolex here. You get my point. Now, what happened is that I've interacted with youths.
Yes.
And I realized that the government is not going to come down here and think for us.
Okay.
That's one thing.
So elementarily thinking.
Before we even think of what can the government do, what has the government done? What has the government done to uplift? Now Uganda is the most enterprising nation.
In the world, by
In the
far.
world.
By far.
But how many startups in Uganda?
They actually, that's a discussion we've been having here. Uganda is the most enterprising country in the world, but these startups actually never see their first birthday. 6 months down the road, the business is dead.
Yes. And normally when I compare the two, you know, those days they would tell us 1 Kenyan is equal to 10 Ugandans.
10 Ugandans
and I
in
felt
terms
that
of
was
efficiency.
wrong.
Is that
was
right?
wrong.
And those guys more efficient?
No. I felt that was a marketing. You know, Kenyans are so good with propaganda. It was just a marketing strategy for the Kenyans to dominate in the area, in the arena of work. Of course, they have good work ethics and all that. But get a Kenyan, bring him to Uganda, and I can assure you within the shortest time possible, that Kenya is going to get a job and will be employed. Maybe even paid.
More.
Now, get a Ugandan and take him to Kenya. What will he do?
What will they do? They are going to be drinking.
A Ugandan, when he goes to Kenya, will look at the next thing he wants to do. He will think of, let me start up a small Rolex joint around here. They're business oriented. So the two people, when you compare the two people, one actually plays a better role of employing the other. Because the other one is enterprising. This one is job. This one will come and get a job, you'll get it. The other one will go the other side and think
look
of
for what to start.
an opportunity, and then he creates that opportunity, you know, to solve a problem, to make money out of it, profit. And that's why you have so many Ugandans who are in the corporate world, they're working, but they have business on the side.
Yes, it's advisable.
It's advisable. You get my point? Now, around 1997, 1998, 1997. I remember the president himself when he was still, I think, the chancellor of Makerere University. He was speaking to the graduates, and then he told them, be great, job what?
Job creators.
I still remember that. So. Because I was so good with SST. So some of those things were things that will play in me for such a good time. And I realized that a Ugandan is going to walk out of a university on 2 accounts. Job, business. If the job comes, well and good. But his mind is on, man, I have to be self-made somewhere.
Isn't this like a something trying to put us away, that government has failed to give us jobs?
Now,
so
the biggest,
isn't this a part like?
But you see now the government. That's what I'm saying. What has the government done? Because the government is not going to come down here and do it for you. It's like thinking of we East Africans or we Africans are going to think that the whites are going to come here and do the development that we need for us. Well and good. Foreign direct investment is good, but it comes at a certain cost.
Okay.
You get my point?
Okay.
Because forever it keeps us at a certain place where these other guys dominate us. And we cannot think for ourselves. We cannot do things for ourselves. We don't believe in ourselves. The opportunities that we present in Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, Sudan, Ethiopia, Egypt.
As we go for a short break, so you're trying to say youth should keep themselves as far away from government, should do something for us, and they should change their thinking in terms of investment.
The question we have here that the youths provide a large percentage in most of these economies.
Yes.
Now the question here is that who needs the other more? Because I believe the government needs the youths more. You get my point? And
right.
that is a place the youth should know and understand themselves. Because when the government gets a youth who is thinking and doing his thing, it is easier to work with such a youth compared to one who is seated and expect the government to do everything for him. You know, you need to engage some of these projects also the government is putting in play as a youthful person, but also come up with something that you know it is bankable by the government. So the government comes in. Of course, there is the other place where maybe there's the reluctance on the government side. But how much are the youths doing to enterprise themselves? How much are they doing to transform the different opportunities into profit-generating opportunities? How much are they doing to solve solutions to the problems that they have in their communities, in their region, and in their nations? How much more than they're doing, apart from crying and causing commotion?
Right.
You get my
Jalum, let me go for a short break. And then when we come back, we actually have a hypothetical moment where you're president of the entire region for, let's say, 24 hours. What would you do first? That is in the next. But that's after the challenges. We're going to talk about the challenges, then we'll go for the hypothetical moment and call it a wrap.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay. Now, do not go away. You're still a very lovely audience. We are at the Nube home and we are live. Do not go away. Well, if you're just joining us, you've missed the last two segments of this very beautiful episode of The Desk, where we are actually putting a microscopic view on the regional entrepreneurship and investment / business. And I tell you, the man in the chair, he just doesn't Google things. He's been on the ground and he knows exactly what it entails to have a successful business or to actually do intertrade when it comes to the region. Ladies and gentlemen, Jalum John, this man, he's been in the DR Congo, he's been in Sudan, and he knows all the challenges. What are some of those very, very peculiar challenges that you've gone through personally, not something you've picked up on TV and pocketed?
Now, the challenges that have been presented to me, like I've told you before, I'm a hands-on person.
Yes.
I've been to Tanzania. I've flown in some cases, but there are cases where I actually moved by the road. Actually, most of the time I prefer when I'm within East Africa, move by the road, because and then you're in touch with you're in touch with the real groundwork, with the things that are happening on ground, the challenges and the opportunities and activities that are happening, that are taking place.
Yes.
Now, what you need to understand that the challenges that are presented today for the youths, number one, they lack the funds.
Yes.
You get a youth with a very brilliant idea, but it stays within him.
No money.
No money. Then another thing is because also the youths ought to know their place.
Before we go to that, how do we solve actually credit unworthiness? A lot of youths are not credit worthy. They can't even get capital. They can't. How do we solve this challenge? How did you overcome it?
Now, you see, the way youths we are built in Africa is that we are built to be the consumers. And few really think way into real investment.
Right.
Consumer, in the end thing of it, they're looking at, when I get money, I should buy this, I should eat this, I should buy this, I should eat this, which is not a problem. But few are engaged in real income generation activities.
Right.
Now, the challenge that is presented, I'll talk to you about. There is something called the Youth Fund.
Right.
The government of Uganda is doing.
Yes.
But you see, the Youth Fund also. Now, these problems, it isn't just one challenge that is being faced. You also have to understand where it's coming from and how it's created. For example, as a government, I wouldn't just dish out money to the youths because simply they put up something we're doing as youth here and there. Because
actually, last week I had a assistant private secretary from State House in line with the Youth and Poverty Alleviation, and they say they have a criteria that they follow, and they are certified. These guys are actually going to use the money to, and she was actually talking about that youth fund exactly.
So let them come out and tell us that from the youths, that from the youth
fund.
groups that we have funded, how many have been successful? Have they carried out a proper feasibility study or evaluation,
yes.
And to provide us with the right feedback.
Right.
You get my point?
Right.
Has that been in place?
Right.
Because if not, then you're still beating the air. You're just using it as a political ground to play.
And we do not need politics.
We don't need politics.
We don't
We
need,
need to
yes.
develop, we need to grow. You know, we need to know that this business, if the government funded it at maybe $20,000, let me say 100 million Uganda shillings, in the next 6 years, has it grown and all that?
What has it yielded?
What has it yielded?
Absolutely.
You know, that kind of stuff. We don't have that. You're only telling us we have this group, we are giving, but we're not seeing the yield anywhere.
That's true.
You get my point? These guys get the money pocket and just jump into something else and else and else. They actually just come and focus and you know, use a few things to just lie to get the money. You get my point? For me, I would prefer the government should look out for youths who are actually doing something and are moving on with their vision. They're not there to come and fund and provide control, but rather to facilitate, to help this particular youth who is engaged. For example, someone who is developing maybe a particular app, and his app is working to solve issues here, there. The government should now come. I believe this thing is good. If it has worked in the radius of 10 million people, what about if we expand it to 20 to 30 million people, and that kind of stuff? That's how the government should come and partner with the youths. You know, they should enter partnership, like the way they have it with the private sector. You know, they should come in a place where the government partners with the youths. You get my point? So I believe that would also work, because the challenges presented are so many youths are not educated of the opportunities that are here.
Actually,
I'm
yes,
a Ugandan, but I know
sensitization.
Tanzania more than most Tanzanians. And the opportunities that Tanzania presents
more than
the Tanzanians.
the chaps down there.
The chaps down those. So it amazes to say, okay, you don't know this part?
You're here and you don't know what's happening.
It's the same thing here.
Yes, absolutely.
You find Karamoja presents a very good opportunity, but you know, we have this black mentality, that's something that has blocked our mind.
Ask me what is happening. I don't know what's happening in Karamoja.
Karamoja is just, man, those guys are wild, those guys are just going to kill you.
Yes,
that kind of stuff. Yet Karamoja presents very awesome opportunities in mining, in agriculture, different stuff. They are actually, when you go to Tanzania, central Tanzania, where they do a lot of grapes and sunflower, these are crops that can actually
be grown descent
of Karamoja very well. But you see, we have had this thing about Karamoja that is actually wrong. You know, that mentality. We haven't explored the opportunity that Karamoja presents. Even the mining that is taking place, mineral activities that are there, is more artisanal, and the youths that engage there are not so much exposed in even developing the youths that are there. So what is the government doing? You get my point? Well, I'm going to go and say we have put the youth fund here, but I feel that is more of a political
tool.
A political tool than just the real deal that the youths need themselves. You get my point?
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, we can never exhaust this. We can only talk as much and talk to people as much. But in this last 1 minute, let's say you're the president of the 5 countries combined.
Yes.
24 hours. What would you do first? First, you're in the office. What would you do first?
The first thing I'll do is to create a very conducive economic environment.
How would you in 24 hours?
In 24 hours?
Yes.
I'll first of all get, what would I say? This is a really broad stuff. But if I'm a president, within 24 hours, for the 5 countries, number one, I'll put measure in place that helps cross-border trade within the nations with much ease.
You'd first say barriers on borders off. You don't care whether you're out of office the next day.
Yeah, that stuff out of the way.
Okay.
You get my point? So that people can easily do business across the borders with much ease. And also, there is the element of tax. That especially for the youths who are coming up, how much more does the government think about taxing enterprises that are owned by youths and all that kind of stuff? Some of those things need to be scrapped. Any obstacle that makes us go backward a bit, I'll get it out of the way.
Instead of giving investors, you'd give youths tax holidays, tax exemptions.
Tax exemption for the youths. And that will now put the youths up and come up with different ideas and all that.
Right.
Yes.
It's been a lovely show. Thank you for coming. It's a wrap.
Thank you.
I think we need to do it again sometime.
I believe so.
People need to do, because people actually think I can only have a Mudala in downtown instead of thinking East Africa.
Yes.
But this actually have been an eye opener.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the show, dear.
Thank you too.
All right. Now you've been a very lovely audience. Actually, this episode has been an exclusive where we are in the gardening area of Danube Home. And remember, Danube Home is still giving you up to 20% discount until the end of January. Now walk into Danube Home, Kampala Road, opposite Shell, opposite KCB. It's been an eye-opener for an episode. I tell you, regional entrepreneurship, regional investment is the way to go. Now remember, U24 is the only channel that you keep glued on your screen. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been a lovely audience. Now from me and the entire U24 management, we'd love to sign out. We'd love to say good night, good luck, adios, for God and my country. God bless beautiful Uganda.